Okay, picture this. You're so good at fighting, even actual fighters are like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I'll sit this one out. You're so fast, cameras literally couldn't keep up. Seriously, they had to slow you down just so people could see what you were doing. Who else gets that treatment? And the abs sculpted, like Michelangelo would have quit levels of sculpted, and no, this isn't some anime character I'm making up. This was Bruce freaking Lee, but his story. It's way more than just fists, flips, and flying kicks. Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco in 1940 during a tour stop for his dad, a Cantonese opera star. But don't let that American birth certificate fool you. Bruce grew up in Hong Kong, right in the middle of British colonial tension and post-war chaos. By the time he was 6, he was already acting in local films. Cute kid, charming smile, but off-camera dude was scrapping. Constantly. Hong Kong back then was no joke. Street gangs weren't just in movie villains, they were real, and Bruce had a habit of bumping into them. And by bumping into, I mean full-on throwing hands. He was fast, cocky, wild, the kind of kid who got into fights, won some, lost some, and then came right back swinging. His parents tried to get him into martial arts schools, partly to teach him discipline, partly to keep him from getting beat up. At 13, he started learning Wing Chun under the legendary IP Man. Yeah, that IP Man. He taught Bruce the fundamentals, balance, energy, fluid motion, all stuff Bruce would later completely tear down and rebuild in his own way. By 18, Bruce had fought so much that local cops knew his name, and not because he was famous. His parents finally sat him down and said, "You're either going to end up in jail or worse." So they packed him off to the US alone, with $100 in his pocket, not exactly a hero's send-off, more like exile. Bruce lands in Seattle and has to start completely over. New culture, new language, no safety net. He works as a dishwasher in a Chinese restaurant. While going to school, eventually studying philosophy at the University of Washington. Yeah, Bruce Lee wasn't just a martial artist. He was a thinker. He read everything from Nietzsche to Krishnamurti. He wasn't just looking for how to fight, he was trying to understand why we fight. And in the middle of all that, he falls in love. Her name was Linda, a white woman. In 1960s America, they got married in '64. Interracial marriage was still illegal in some US states. But Bruce didn't care. Love was love. And together, they had 2 kids, Brandon and Shannon Lee. But let's rewind a sec, because 1964 was a big year for another reason. The Long Beach karate tournament, Bruce steps up in front of martial arts royalty and blows minds. He demos the 1-inch punch, yeah, that move where he barely twitches and still sends a grown man flying. And that was just the warm-up. People weren't ready. This wasn't Karate Kid point sparring, this was real, fluid, explosive. Martial arts suddenly felt like they'd just fast-forwarded 20 years. Bruce starts teaching his own style. Not rigid, not ancient, raw, real, efficient. He called it Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. It wasn't a style, it was the end of styles, a philosophy that said, absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. Think of it like martial arts, jazz, improvised, adaptive, always evolving. But not everyone was cool with that. Some traditionalists hated that he was teaching non-Chinese students. So one of them, Wong Jack Man, challenged Bruce to a private fight, and Bruce said, "Let's go." He won, but he hated how long it took, said it shouldn't take that much time or effort. So he did what only Bruce would do, tore it all down, started over. That fight, it birthed Jeet Kune Do, efficiency, no fluff, all fight his students, not just locals, pro athletes, actors, even Chuck Norris. Yep, that Chuck Norris. And then came Hollywood. Bruce got a few roles, most notably as Kato in The Green Hornet, And even though he was supposed to be the sidekick, he stole the whole damn show. But Hollywood wasn't ready. Too Asian to lead, too smart to follow. Bruce pitched his own show, The Warrior, about a Chinese martial artist in the American West. Studios passed, then repackaged it as Kung Fu, with a white dude, David Carradine, playing the lead. Bruce watched someone else live out his idea.
Such thing does exist in this world, you see. Like, they think that business-wise, it's a risk. And I don't blame them, I mean, in the same way, it's like in Hong Kong, if a foreigner come and became a star, if I were the man with the money, I probably would have my own worry of whether or not the acceptance would be there.
So, what did he do? Same thing he always did when the door slammed shut. He kicked it down. Bruce returns to Hong Kong in the early 70s, but this time, he wasn't just some kid who got into street fights. He was a storm. He made The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, where he didn't just act. He wrote, directed, choreographed, and redefined action cinema. Forget slow, clunky punches. Bruce's fights were like jazz and thunder mixed together, rhythm, speed, and impact like nothing anyone had ever seen. And then came the big one. Enter the Dragon, 1973, the first Hollywood-Hong Kong martial arts crossover blockbuster. This was it. Bruce Lee, front and center. Not comic relief, not background noise. The main character, but just as everything was falling into place, tragedy hit. July 20th, 1973. 6 days before Enter the Dragon dropped, Bruce Lee died, age 32, caused cerebral edema brain swelling, supposedly from a reaction to a painkiller. But the world didn't buy it. Theories swirled. Allergic reaction, heat stroke, mob hit, assassination, because Bruce didn't feel like someone who could die young. He was just getting started. And get this, while Enter the Dragon was being edited, he'd already started filming his next project, Game of Death, the one with the iconic yellow tracksuit. But it was never finished in his lifetime. Only fragments remain, but Bruce, he never really left. You can see his fingerprints everywhere. Jackie Chan.
Stage with him, I was under, because there's so many people around him. There's so many, everywhere he go, we just, wow. I always look,
Jet Li, Donnie Yen, Tony Jaa, even Keanu in John Wick is moving with Bruce's DNA. He changed how the world saw martial arts, how it saw Asian men, how it saw strength, not bulky, not brash, but fast, sharp, efficient. He wasn't trying to be the best fighter. He was trying to be the best version of himself. His daughter, Shannon Lee, carries the torch today, running the Bruce Lee Foundation, teaching his philosophy and showing the next generation how to move, think, and live with power and grace. Because Bruce wasn't just a fighter, he was a bridge. Between cultures, between ideas, between body and mind. A walking contradiction, Chinese, but American, fighter, but philosopher, action icon, but minimalist. And that quote you've probably heard 1,000 times.
Be water, my friend.
That wasn't a slogan. It was the blueprint.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash.
So next time someone says, Bruce Lee was just a movie star, you let them know. He made every second count. And 32 years, that was more than enough to make history.